Rise and Elevate is dedicated to sharing the message of failures and successes, but those failures don't have to be negatives. They can be additives. They can be the lessons that we learn that help us to grow and become more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rise and Elevate. It's hard to believe we're already at episode 10, a milestone moment, and I'm so excited to be back with my friend and co-host Tom Fox for what is shaping up to be a powerful and inspiring episode. Tom, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Devon. I'm excited that this is number 10. We finally get to double digits and we're continuing our mission. Guys, just so you know, we have started this podcast and we want to have a message of hope, positivity, and something that's uplifting. We believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. And Devon and I have committed to one another to sharing this message. And we're really excited today to introduce two members of a team that are doing great things for not only the community, but for our veterans and for our beloved four-legged canine world. And we're excited to share this message. So Devon, if you wouldn't mind introducing our guests, and then we'll bring them out of the green room.
Of course, absolutely. So like Tom said, we are on episode 10. So this is a little bit different from our usual because it's a double episode, double the impact, two guests, and double the fun. So first, I'm going to introduce Chris Nelson. Chris Nelson is the president and CEO of Freedom Service Dogs of America, really with a passion for the human-canine connection. Chris leads this life-changing nonprofit and its mission to provide custom-trained service dogs to veterans, children with autism, and individuals with physical disabilities. Since stepping into the role in 2022, he's drawn from years of nonprofit leadership to expand the reach and reduce wait times for those in need. For Chris, this work is deeply personal, and his vision is rooted in the belief that service dogs don't just offer support, but they change lives. Next, we have the incredible Chris Boyer. Chris is a proud Marine Corps veteran, having served in the First Gulf War with a unit now enshrined in the National Marine Corps Museum. After transitioning into civilian life, he spent decades in auto finance while raising his daughter as a single father, his greatest achievement. Chris now channels this passion in a veterinarian advocacy and support, serving as commander of the Post 12230 and as the Veteran Service Coordinator at Freedom Service Dogs. He's also a proud handler to a service dog, Noodle, who's played a major role in his own journey. Chris Boyer and Chris Nelson, welcome to the Rise and Elevate podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning, gentlemen. I want to say, first of all, thank you for coming on with us for this episode 10 of Rise and Elevate. But I also wanted to thank you for your engagement and the relationship that you guys have fostered with Annie Mac Home Mortgage. And this is, I don't know how many years now, Chris, how many years have you been together with the Annie Mac golf tournament that we've hosted?
Well, it's many. I know that. I've only been here for 2.5 years. So I don't have quite the historical context with the relationship we have with Annie Mac, but I do know that we love it and you all are incredible to us. And so thank you for having us on and thanks for being a great partner in this work.
Absolutely. So in September, we're hosting the Fetch the Ball golf tournament.
Yes.
And the sole purpose of this golf tournament is a fundraising endeavor to help fund what you guys do in creating and breeding and, delivering these service dogs to veterans. Chris, as a veteran, and thank you, first of all, for your service and protecting our freedom and for being a part of the Freedom Service Dogs of America. And I'd love to hear about your experience in receiving a pet that not only provides support, but from what I understand and the way Chris says, it changes lives. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was just that. It was truly life-changing, and it wasn't a small decision to make. It was a very big decision, and the thought of it actually struck me one day when I was at the VA waiting for an appointment, and I was in a bit of a funk, and I was sitting there with my head down, and when I looked up, sitting in front of me, there was a service dog, and it had Marine Corps patches all over it, and the handler, Marine Corps veteran, looked at me and said, "You want to pet him?" I said, "Sure." And right then that seed was planted, and I began some very deep thought and began research on getting a service dog, to help me, and found Freedom Service Dogs. I'm like, well, shoot, they're just like 7.5 miles away from my door. And
wow.
I'm sure glad that I went down that path, because my dog Noodle has definitely had a very positive impact on my life. And we've been together now for almost 8 years, and have matching gray beards. We didn't have that when we first started this journey together, but he's my buddy. So
now, is your buddy willing to go on camera with us as well? Noodle?
If I can get him off if I can get him off my bed, he's sleeping right now. But
At some point, if he comes on, that's great. But I wanted to thank you for sharing. You had a struggle. You supported our country. You had some, dealings with PTSD, and you were seeking help. And I think that's a big and powerful message, is just the openness, right? To accept help. The method and the pathway is varied for everyone. But these dogs in this canine world really helps to unlock some really big doors. And, it's important. Not only are you a handler, are you a part of it, but you're also engaging with other veterans and trying to share that message with them.
Well, yeah, and that's become another part of my life's journey, is to help my brothers and sisters heal, to help them on their journey, because, whatever they're feeling or suffering from, I've probably been there, done that, and got the T-shirt. So it's part of what helps get me up in the morning. So I'm
Amen.
very privileged to be able to help them.
Thanks.
Chris Boyer, I'd like to ask, how did you get from matching with Noodle to now working with the organization?
Well, I guess timing and luck. I guess I spent 25 years in car dealerships, and for about the last 10 years of that, I spent a lot of time in my office daydreaming about being able to work with and for veterans for a living, and that came true. So I started volunteering with, spending a lot of time with nonprofits as a participant, and then as a volunteer, and just kind of learning the ropes and taking notes as I'm going along with a variety of really fantastic organizations. One of them being, of course, Freedom Service Dogs, after Noodle and I were placed together. I had the privilege of running a small local nonprofit called the Honor Bell Foundation, and learned a whole lot doing that. And when I left that organization, it was just a matter of luck and timing, I guess, that a position had opened up at Freedom Service Dogs, and took advantage of that.
That's amazing.
So, Chris Nelson, this actually leads me to you now, right? So because you've led an incredible, expansion at Freedom Service Dogs, growing the operating budget from, I think you said 2.2 to over 5 million, and tripling the staff. So, I think my question here is, what leadership principles, or rather strategic moves, helped you drive that kind of growth while staying mission focused?
Well, that's an easy question, Devon. Thanks for the softball here. It's a complicated answer. First, I want to call out Boyer. We hunted him down to work here because of his passion for serving veterans, and so it wasn't just luck and timing. He's an incredible man, and it's his entire soul that he puts into the work. And so we found him, and courted him, and thankfully now he's here. In terms of what's important when you are looking at scaling or growing an organization, staying true to the mission, is that the core questions need to be, how do we do more of what our mission is, right? That's question number one. And then how do we make sure all of our arrows are pointing in the right way towards that purpose? And so, that's the easy high level answer is we're here to do more of what we do. And so helping everybody to align me with how I can support the organization in doing that has been a great honor for me.
Chris, it's never easy to be the one in charge, right? The leadership that you're providing, the organization direction, the growth is important, right? But I love the fact that you circle back to that really easy softball question with staying on point with, the real root cause of why you're doing this, right? And it's helping others improve their quality of life and using the animals, the pets, the dogs. And I'm a dog owner and I absolutely love dogs. And there's something that changes in me when I'm around Archie. He's a Labradoodle. He's about 45 pounds and he just loves to be around me because I think he feels the energy that I get from him, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. Yeah. So, it's amazing to see that growth. And to more than double, triple the staff, the profits, the revenues. And I know that it's not always easy, right? I mean, it's certainly a job that you're doing on a regular basis. But you shared with us one of the things that you've been able to continue to grow is that relationship with the Freedom Clay shoot that you're doing. I think it's in Houston, right?
Yeah, we've got two. We've got one coming up in Midland in September and one in Houston in November. And boy, I'll get the dates wrong, so I'm not going to share them. But you can find them on our website at freedomservicedogs.org. It's pretty cool. Houston, this will be our second year, and Midland, I think, is 8 or 9 years now. And we just had our clay shoot here in Denver.
So as a nonprofit, though, you really have to drive these organizations, these opportunities, these events to keep the ball rolling, right?
Yeah, no money, no mission. I mean, that's right. Like, we don't get to do this without the incredible generosity and support of donors, private, and people who come to events. Things like the AnyMac, the golf tournament coming up in September.
Yes.
And yeah, it's critical. I mean, our stakeholder group is really large here, and so one of the great blessings of this work is to run into people all the time who are giving out of their pocket to support this mission. And those are true heroes to me.
Sure. And those heroes give their lives to protect our freedom. So the ones that see the value in it give back. And Devon and I would like to share a little something that we came up with as the founders and host and co-host of our podcast, our little small piece, a corner of the world, right? Getting out there to share our message. We would like to announce now that we're going to also start our own little fundraising campaign for the Freedom Service Dogs of America with AnyMac's Fetch the Ball tournament. So we are committed to raising funds and sharing awareness and helping people to realize the benefit that you guys provide.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, guys, I would like to shift the focus just a little bit, right? Because a part of this podcast is not only exploring our successes, professional and personal, but also the scary word failures, right? So Chris Boyer, you said that your very honest filter can be both a failure and a strength. Can you tell us about a time when your unfiltered honesty actually helped you?
Oh gosh, well, it's probably helped me more than I realize. Maybe that's a Marine Corps thing also.
Right.
Having been an NCO and having led Marines in combat and non-combat situations where there's kind of no beating around the bush. You just say it like it is. And that's just it. And that's just part of being a leader. not everybody takes it very well. So that style of leadership doesn't exactly fit in all settings, but
Right.
in the veteran world, it sure as heck does. And, that's taken me far in the veteran nonprofit world, as far as leadership is concerned. And just really not beating around the bush and identifying issues and problems and going straight for solutions, and solving problems. And also, most of the time being able to surround myself. Well, let me back up just a tiny bit too. That combined with my experience in the car business and understanding people pretty well, having the ability to surround myself with people who are really good at the things that I suck at,
Right.
and being able to delegate, having really good people around me that I can just speak honestly and open with, and that can do the same with me, so that combined we can be more successful. In some projects that, again, I'm very proud of, and my experiences with some of the nonprofits I've helped out with, here at Freedom Service Dogs, with the VFW post that until last week I was commander of. I rotated out, so I handed the gavel over to someone else, and then also with the Honor Bell Foundation.
How did it feel passing the gavel on to somebody else?
It felt sort of nostalgic, I guess.
Okay.
Like a feeling of accomplishment, a little bittersweet, but also
Right.
felt good too. Because the gentleman that is taking over for me as commander, that was elected commander, I know he's going to do a fantastic job, and I'm proud of him, and proud of. I'm very excited about the future of the post.
And I'm sure that you'll be a supporter of him and helping him to be a straight shooter as well, right?
Absolutely.
In that role. So, Chris, thank you so much for that. Chris Nelson, one of the things that you shared with us, because Rise and Elevate, right? We also are talking about the successes and the failures, but what I love to focus on is the lessons that we learned from some of these things that we didn't do so well. Right. And you talked about your database management and how that was one of your failures. What have you done to kind of help bring that around and utilize your database to become a better tool?
Yeah, I mean, I think broadly it's important to say that I think that failure and lesson, those two words, are synonymous.
Yes.
And so I went ahead and shared sort of Freedom Service Dogs of America, quote unquote lessons with you all. I think Chris was a little more personal. Look, maybe a personal failure of mine, or a lesson that I'm continuing to learn at the ripe old age of 51 years old, is that I can be a little bit too risk tolerant, because I do look at failures as lessons. I go, all right, well, we're going to learn something from this. Might as well try it, right?
Right.
And I inherited a database here that was pretty frustrating to people as it was being built. And so we had some consultation, brought on a new architect for the database, and we're getting there. But I think over the course of multiple years, the hard lesson was user adoption, the staff, and what it means to staff and how they spend their time. I mean, it's really important that we're good stewards of all the donors that we've been talking about, right? Their dollars. Probably they don't want it going to staff spending many hours of their day entering data that they don't understand how to use the database. And so we've been doing a lot of selecting point people and tutorials and helping people understand why we need the data, right? I think that the why is always a question that should be asked. And in this case, why do we collect the data? So we can get better, so we can do more program evaluation, so that we can speak to what we're doing well and what we're not doing well. And so it's been a lot of back engineering in terms of getting people on board with using it and developing in a way that's more user friendly. So ultimately, if you think about the long term, we're going to have a database that works exceptionally well to tell our story and help us do better at what we do. But it's growing pains, my man.
So I'd like to hear about the number of dogs that you're able to place, right? You're breeding them now, right? So it starts from scratch, if you will, right? Yep. So how many dogs do you have that are in your breeding program, and how many are you delivering on an annual basis?
Yeah, at any given time, right? It's a 2-year from birth to being placed is give or take about a 2-year process. So there are a lot of components to that. Mother Nature being a pretty big starting point. So we have puppies that were born last week here on site in our nursery, and we've got dogs that are in for training. And there's a whole group of stakeholders that help get dogs from one place to another. At any given time, we have about 160 dogs in any one of those stages. Obviously, puppies are not available to be placed. And, you sort of look at our outcome measures, and, we're placing close to 50 dogs a year.
Wow.
Out of an available, I'd say, somewhere around 90 to 100 dogs that we could place in any given year. So there are still dogs that are not being placed because of health issues or maybe behavioral components.
Now, what would you estimate that it costs to deliver from start to finish a successful service dog? Like, because knowing that you're about 58% or so of them being placed, right? Yep. What's the average cost for one service dog delivery?
Yeah, I mean, if you boil it down with the basic arithmetic of what it takes to run the organization for a year and the number of dogs we place, you'd have a very high number. It's much more complicated than that. So we estimate that it's about $50,000 to get a dog, from being born to handing it to a person in need.
Okay. So we're, over the last couple of years, I know we've been north of $60,000 that we've, last year's totals. We hope to drive that number higher this year. But, I was only in Army ROTC Ranger Company at Drexel. I would have been Desert Storm, but, my father talked me out of it for whatever reason. It wasn't my journey, right? But I have the utmost respect for everyone that helps protect our freedom.
Me too.
And I understand the sacrifices that they must make to do that. And, unfortunately, I have a brother-in-law that lost his son due to PTSD complications after serving over in Afghanistan. So, Chris, thank you for being one of the voices that helps keep people moving forward. Right. I saw a tattoo the other day on a girl's forearm, and it said, "Just keep swimming." Right. And I think that's a simple thought from a movie, Finding Nemo, where it's really a kid's movie, but there's a lot of adult, meanings and underlying tones. But, I think that so much of what we do is really not what we've been through, but how we handle it and how we move forward, how we think about it, how we learn and grow. And, you guys have an incredible mission, an incredible purpose, and we thank you for all of that.
It's an honor.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. Now, Chris, in your background, Chris Boyer, I'm seeing some pretty fancy guitars there. How did you get started collecting guitars?
Started in high school with the one in the middle right there, the Gibson SG.
Right.
Nice.
I was and still am a huge AC/DC fan, and that's what Angus Young, their lead guitarist, plays. So when I was 16, washing dishes in a restaurant in Manitou Springs, I saw this in a pawn shop for $350, and it took me like 6 months to pay that thing off, and I've had it ever since. And it's a 1969, so it's as old as I am.
I was born in 69 as well, so that's cool. My son, I had an opportunity to coach my son in baseball, and one of our pre-game songs was Thunderstruck.
There you go.
And I told him, I said, he was a little afraid of the baseball to start, as most kids are. And then I told him, I said, I want you to turn that fear into power. And when he hit his first home run, he brought it home with the date on it, and he put Thunderstruck on it. So those are the kind of memories and things that we hold on to. So, it's cool. I'm always fascinated with, those solo guitar riffs and some of the classics of Hendrix and AC/DC and Van Halen. So, it's a cool passion to have, no doubt.
It's fun.
Chris, both of you have shared stories of, service, growth, and, navigating both triumphs and setbacks, or lessons, as we like to call them, right? Whether it's leading an organization through major change or, facing, personal challenges head on. Before we, close out, what's one piece of advice or a life lesson, you'd offer to someone listening, right? Whether they're a nonprofit leader, a veteran, or just someone trying to rise above their own obstacles. Chris Boyer, do you wanna go first?
Don't quit. Never quit.
Quit. I love
Yeah,
that.
that just keep swimming mentality. It's hard. I do this with my kids. I do this with people I work with. And everywhere. It's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I love it. Yeah.
You fail every day. There's not a day in a person's life that you don't fail at something. So that's how you learn.
Yep. There's a quote that I want to throw at you guys from Roger Staubach. I don't know if you guys are football fans or not, but his line is, "There is no traffic jam along the extra mile." And both of you guys have been going the extra mile to help, support and change the lives of the people around you that, get the chance to see the Freedom Service Dogs of America in action. So I want to thank both of you for your time, for your energy, for your stories, for the lessons that you've shared. Devon and I are very proud to have you guys here. And we're also proud to share the message of, helping this journey that you guys are on. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Tom, it's reciprocal. We really appreciate the opportunity to share our message about the important work that we're doing and the great honor it is to do that work, and also our relationship with Annie Mac and now you two specifically. So thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your support. It means a lot.
Thanks for listening to Rise and Elevate, the podcast where we talk mindset, moves, and motivation to level up your life and business. Keep rising, keep elevating.